Rutherford County.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Morning Roundtable Show with your host, Wayne Blair, and myself, Rick Hall. We come to you every Tuesday morning here at WGNS Radio. We kind of focus on Rutherford County and North Rutherford County in particular. And welcome to another freezing morning. Wayne, how are you?
Good morning, brother. I'm, just when I think spring has sprung, it throws me a curveball, but I've lived here all my life, so I ought to be used to it by now.
I know. I walked out and I walked back in and I put a vest on. I come back out. I said, I don't think it's enough. I went and got a jacket and I come back out again. So, yeah, it's
here.
A balmy 46 degrees this morning.
Yep.
But hope you had a good weekend, a good week, sir.
Yeah, did. Happy to be here with you today, and certainly pleased to have our guest. Would like to say that the children and families in Nashville are certainly in our prayers, and we're just heartfelt, broken hearts for those families in the community. So, but
I echo that 100%. It's very unfortunate, but and again, my heart goes out to those law enforcement guys up there and girls in Metro. What they did yesterday was exemplary of their service and what they did, and even down to the dispatchers. They were releasing some of the 911 calls and the radio traffic that was going on, and man, they were spot on, well trained.
God bless their professionalism.
Yes, sir.
Brother Rick, this morning we have a great friend with us this morning. I've known this gentleman and his family pretty much all my life. His dad was a special community servant, and this morning we have retired Judge Benhall McFarland as our guest, and so grateful to have you here this morning, Your Honor.
Thank you, gentlemen. What a pleasure to be here. A little chilly morning gets me up and out of the bed. Instead of just laying around being no good, y'all got me doing something honest today. So thank you, gentlemen.
I cannot believe that you're not active all the time, Your Honor.
Well, I grew up on a dairy farm, but I remember some of those early mornings. They'd be those cold mornings, and kind of snuggle up next to Bessie there, and she'd feel kind of good. As long as she hadn't been in the cockerburls swatting you in the head with her tail, you're okay.
That's right.
I remember my grandmother's father. That was a dairy farm, and had pigs and crops too. But the dairy barn has some special memories, sometimes aromatically not so much, but quite
good life.
Good life. Yes, sir.
I think it's amazing that dairy was our number one thing here in Rutherford County for over 100 years, but you sure wouldn't know it driving around here now.
It was our largest industry, and June was Dairy Month. I mean, and that wasn't just a saying. June was Dairy Month. It was a celebration.
Yes. Special time. Rick and I always try to get our guests especially in the first segment, to talk about themselves. And of course, you've had an amazing career that we'll talk about maybe in our second segment. But your family, I'm talking about you and your dad and now your son, just an amazing impact, on the Rutherford County community.
Well, we've been blessed. Dad, he was a true public servant, thinking of others, how he could improve the community. He was involved with always something to try to make community better, community action agency or this group or that group. And a lot of people were doing that back then, but he was certainly doing his share and trying to make a county better place. But he instilled in us community service and how important that was to give to your community and to make it a better place.
Yes, right. And I think he was the, of course, it's county mayor now, but I think it was county judge at that time.
So
is that correct?
Before all that, my granddaddy started the McFarland Farm Implement Company. He had the John Deere dealership. And so Dad went to UT undergraduate, got a degree in agriculture. He actually got a master's in agriculture.
I did not know that.
Came back and was taught in Woodbury High School, but the war was coming along, so he had to go serve. Woodbury that year had about 3 or 4 different male ag teachers, and they all kept having to go into the service. And so he did that. He actually played football for a year up there as a freshman under General Neyland.
Wow.
And he was number 30, and it's interesting to see in the program that they listed, they had these bruisers at 145 pounds and an offensive guard.
Yes,
and like the heaviest guy on the team was 225 pounds or something. But anyway, so he graduated, served in the Pacific, 81st Wildcat Division, came back to the family farm implement business. That's why I was getting into all that.
Mm-hmm.
At the time they closed the John Deere dealership here, they were the second longest continually owned John Deere dealership in the nation. One in Mississippi had been owned longer. And so he transitioned from the farm implement business to county politics, ran for county clerk, 1962. And then he served 3 terms in that. So decided to run for then called county judge. Judge Threet was the county judge. You remember him.
I do. Yes, sir.
I think, the way I remember it, he passed away in office. County commission appointed from the north end of the county, Knox Ridley, who's, I think they said his father had served in a similar capacity as chairman of the quarterly court, they might have called it then, with the squires.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so he was appointed to fill out, I think, the unexpired term of Judge Threet. And so then the next time it came open for election, the fight was on. I used to tell folks, if you hadn't run against a Ridley, you hadn't really been in a political race.
Were there 3 candidates in that?
There were
round?
actually 4.
4, okay.
There was Dad, Charlie Mack Jones,
Okay, remember that.
Knox Ridley, and Kelton. I'm trying to remember his first name. He's a university professor, an accomplished speaker. I think he'd run against Judge Threet one time, I think. But it was a tough 4-person race, and Dad happened to come out on top on that one. He used to laugh. Everybody thought Knox was going to win. He was serving and just strong politically.
Sure.
And the Ridley twins knew how to do politics, and you got to tip your hat to them, and we did. And Dad would laugh and said, you know, we're glad to get by this race, but they used to say, a fella came up to him after the race and said, I don't know anybody that said they voted for you, but you got the most votes. And I think that was, everybody thought Knox was the favorite, and that's just, well, Knox is the favorite.
Yes, sir.
The guy said, I didn't find anybody that said they voted for you, Ben Hall, but you got by.
Yeah.
And then after that, the Ridleys were with us, political friends, if you would. Charlie Mack was, Charlie Mack Jones, class act. 2 years after that, Dad ran for Congress, 1976. And that's when Al Gore was elected, his first congressional race.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a fundraiser. Charlie Mack donated an entire steer for the hamburgers, for the fundraiser.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so then Dad, so he was our last county judge, and they changed the name to county executive.
Yes, sir.
And he was our first county executive.
Okay. I didn't recall that. I'm glad to know that.
I think that's why I'm here.
To help me remember all the things I don't remember.
And I guess, and throughout his public service, I need to tell you, I'm going to sneak one in on you. I have said this publicly many times. The truest, hardest working, most unappreciated servants are those who serve on the school board and the county commission. Who in here has done that? Oh, you have, Wayne.
That's right.
And Rick as well.
You have too.
He commissioned. Well,
Commission. So kudos to you. Y'all get the calls at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Either there's this problem, there's that problem. they don't get paid squat.
That's right.
And so I need to pass on to y'all. I have always felt that.
Well, you're very kind, Your Honor. Thank you.
And I guess sometime I want to tell this story. I guess if I could tell it now.
Your Honor,
we still got him.
you have leeway here.
So when my dad passed away in '92, and I decided to run. Judge Buckner retired, General Sessions judge, and I decided to run for his position. I practiced 25 years, private practice, and in his court the whole time. So I felt like I could do the job. So I was running for General Sessions judge. It was a highly contested race, that first one. Once again, it had 4 people in it. But anyway, I was out campaigning one time. Met somebody just a few years younger than me, shook his hand, told him who I was, told him what I was running for, and asked him for his vote. He said, well, kind of reflected a little bit and said, well, I never met you. One time, my daddy told me to never vote against a McFarland. So I'm going to vote for you.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that?
And I thought, it's like thunder and lightning hit me, like, instead of being, oh, like I've got this, or like I've done something, it was a responsibility. And it really hit me hard. I've got a lot to live up to. I don't want to be the one that breaks that trust.
Yes, sir.
And so I've told my son now, I retired. He just recently ran and was elected.
Yes, sir.
And I've told him that story more than once to hopefully instill in him that same community service, and that you don't get all, you stay humble. You stay humble and you work hard.
I've always tried to, well, this saying has impacted me all my life, is that no one can take away your integrity. You can just, you can give it away.
Well said. Well said.
And once you give it away, you can never get it back.
And it takes a lifetime to build that integrity.
Yes.
And it takes 5 minutes to take it away.
Yep.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah, that's a great lesson.
Yep.
So, but yeah, the McFarland name oozes with integrity. So yeah, I know
Well,
you're
you're
very
kind to say that.
extremely proud of that.
We try to maintain that.
So brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I grew up with 3 sisters, and then my mother died in 1968 when I was 19. Dad remarried. I have 2 half-brothers. So my sisters, 2 live here in town. 1 lives in Carthage, married a lawyer. You know Joe Lane?
Yes, sir.
The lane's on the old Nashville Highway.
Yes, sir. Grandchildren?
Grandchildren. Well, I have 2 children. I've been blessed with 2 children. My son, now serving General Sessions judge, has a 3-year-old and 8-month-old. So, named 8-month-old named after my grandmother. We appreciate that, Maddie Grace, and then Maverick McFarland. What a name!
What a name!
What a name! Yeah,
especially
live
now.
up to that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then I have a daughter who lives in Brentwood. She's a pediatrician. She has 3 children, 9, and 1 that just turned 8, and 5. So she's got her hands full. Being a doctor and 3 children in those very, very active stages.
Sure are. Close together, too.
Well, I think we all realize how that works these days. So as far as your educational experience here in Rutherford County and collegiately, how did that transpire?
Well, it was local all the way. Went to Mitchell Nelson and Critchlow, inner city school then, and then went to Central High School, Murfreesboro Central High School. Went to MTSU. Studied a major in political science. They called it pre-law curriculum. I knew I wanted to go to law school. Graduated MTSU 1970. ROTC was big then. It was required.
Oh, yes, sir.
2 years. All us boys had to do it unless you already had military service or come back as a vet or something. And I went, no question how, whether or not we were going to serve at the end during the Vietnam War. It's how you're going to serve. So I decided to go advanced ROTC. So when I graduated, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant. Same day I graduated, my branch was military intelligence. So I got an educational way to go to law school, went to UT. Figured the best place to learn Tennessee law was the University of Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Really, only law school I applied to. I'm lucky I got in. And so put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. Back then, law school was different. They let a bunch of people in, and they literally flunked half of us out. It was competitive. When you went there, they said you look at the left or right, one of you's not going to be here in a year. And that's the way they graded. So that's what you knew going in, so you had to work hard and study. I went straight through law school. It was 3 years of law school, but I did it in 2 years and 3 months. Went straight through the summers. And after that, I went to see Uncle Sam for a while. I went to Officers Basic, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And it was kind of historic for any of you military people out there, especially in intelligence. It was the very first ever Officers Basic in the military intelligence. Usually they'd send their intelligence officers, most of them went to infantry school first and then go into the intelligence training. But this was it was called MIOBC 1. Every Army names all their classes. They give them a number. Mm-hmm. You know, this is the umpteenth time we've done this. Well, I was MIOBC number 1. First ever Officers Basic military intelligence. That was kind of a big deal. But it was good training. And then I was only on active duty for 3 months, but then I came back and we went in reserves. Stayed in a unit in Chattanooga. Technically retired. I was in it about 10 years. Retired as a major. And military training, best in the world.
I'm finding out I thought I knew you pretty well, Your Honor, but I'm finding out all kinds of things that I was not aware
I had
of.
Nobody better talk bad about MTSU. I was also in the band there. Play French horn, still play French horn, Tennessee Valley Winds. And it's just a great experience.
MTSU's band, we sit just around from it, and they look like they just enjoy being there. I mean, they're fun to watch.
It's fun. I was not a music major or minor, but good enough to play in it back with Joe T. Smith and Horace Beasley, and I wouldn't take anything for those moments.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, still play now with a great group, Tennessee Valley Winds.
Are you? I remember several years ago when we played the University of Tennessee there, and it is the first time I'd been in Neyland, draped in blue, and of course our guys played very well that day, but
they did.
They just kind of got overpowered by the fourth quarter. And are you? See, I'm just an MTSU grad with a degree from both schools. Are you torn when they play each other?
Well, I was at those games. They played them, I think, more than once, but I was at those games, and I wore MTSU blue. My grandparent, McFarland's, grandmother and grandfather both graduated from UT. My mother and dad both graduated from UT Knoxville. And I have a degree there. But MTSU gave me the basis, and so I wore MTSU blue.
Good.
And
I figured you did, but I didn't mean to put you on the spot. But
it's a fair question. I'm glad you asked me, so I get the answer. I was MTSU blue.
Amen. Go blue.
It's interesting leaving the stadium, because we had season tickets in Knoxville for a while, and it's interesting leaving the stadium. UT fans saying, "Well, y'all played well. Good luck to you. Hope you have a good season."
Well, we got retired Judge Ben Hall McFarland with us this morning. The time now is 9:25. We're going to take our first break, and we'll be back with you in just 1 minute. Thank you.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your complete health assessment at Low T Center. They now offer the convenience of monitored self-inject at-home testosterone treatments for only $155 a month cash pay, or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near Low T Center, or you just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started on treatment. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Learn to make money 5 ways with rental real estate. Double your money with apartments. And get your map to financial freedom. And that map starts with a free workshop. Sign up now at lifestylesunlimited.com. Click on the Join Free Workshop tab and attend online or in person. That's lifestylesunlimited.com. Lifestylesunlimited.com. Again, that's lifestylesunlimited.com. Limited seating, unlimited potential.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
Hi, this is John Day of the law offices of John Day. I've lived and worked as a lawyer in Middle Tennessee for over 30 years, and to me, every single day has been an honor. That's why our firm is so involved with community programs like bicycle helmet giveaways and our Safe Ride Home program. At the law offices of John Day, we're not just looking to make donations. We want to make a difference in the community we hold so dear. And if you're ever injured, know that we are here for you too.
WGNS encourages you to shop local. Let's support our local family businesses. And the hills are alive with the sound of music at the Center for the Arts in Uptown Murfreesboro. That's April the 14th through May 7th. Don't miss the sound of music. Greenhouse Ministries needs volunteers for the first mobile food pantry this year. It's Saturday morning, April 15th. If you can volunteer, get in touch with Greenhouse Ministries. 2 big Easter egg hunts this coming Saturday here in Murfreesboro at 1 o'clock over at Rogers Park. And Rogers Park is at 1115 Hunt Street. There's another one at the same time, 1 o'clock Saturday, at the Lee Victory Recreation Area in Smyrna. Both of them 1 o'clock this Saturday. Don't throw away old glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather. Skies become mostly sunny this afternoon, high in the low 60s. Northwest winds gust as high as 20 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear, low 32. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 46.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE Sharing Change is funded by members who round up their electric bills to the nearest dollar each month as a donation and support hundreds of local nonprofits. Find out more at sharingchange.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning again, and welcome back to the second segment of the WGNS Roundtable with your host, Rick Hall, and myself, Wayne Blair. And we have the pleasure of having retired Judge Ben Hall McFarland as our guest this morning. And we've talked about growing up here in Rutherford County and your family. Maybe the second segment, Your Honor, we discuss your service to this county, many years a judge here, and I'm sure if you felt like it, you could probably write a book, but certainly could tell us some stories if if you had long enough too.
Yeah, I would love to share a lot of stories. I just don't know how much, if we got the time. One of my favorite ones is about Judge Buckner, a fellow. This is a true story. I've had more than one person verify it. Fella got a little too, he was a frequent flyer in Judge Buckner's court. And he got a little too familiar with Judge Buckner, who was straight as an arrow, honest honorable man.
Yes, sir.
And so turns out Judge Buckner had to sentence this man. He says, well, Mr. Jones, he just picked a name, I'm finding you guilty, and I'm going to give you 6 months to serve in the workhouse. And the man kind of reared back and said, Judge Buckner, I can do 6 months standing on my head. And as Judge Buckner was still writing the order, he said, and I'm going to give you another 6 months to get back on your feet. And I've had that verified to me more than once. And the man said to some friends afterwards, said, well, I'm never going to talk back to him again. But I was fortunate enough. I've practiced law 25 years, private practice. That's a hard, anybody to make a living, it's a hard way to make a living, and that's a hard way to make a living, private practice of law. I was ready for something different, so in 1998, decided to run for judge. Very close race, was elected, so I started service in 1998. Second time I ran was unopposed. Boy, that was nice.
Boy, that is.
Y'all have run unopposed?
Well,
No.
I got to do it once.
Yeah.
When noon rolls around on that qualifying day,
Yes,
and there's
sir.
no petition filed, it is no feeling like it.
Yes, sir. I strongly concur.
I think I might have been John Bragg that said, I've got lots of opposition, but I didn't have an opponent this time. So second time I did not have an opponent, and then third time was another contested race. But so I got to serve 3 times, and got to, I guess I'm going to tell you about some of the things we did. Maybe I think General Sessions Judge is the best job in the world. You deal with lots of people. You get to deal with lots of people, and so I think you get to affect more people. And where I'm headed with that is, started in my second term, they had started a new position, a third position for judge, which meant I got to a day where I could try to do something different. And Rick appreciated this. I said to myself, what does our county need? What do we really need? And I thought, we need to emphasize domestic violence. We need to emphasize that that's important. And Rick would tell you, in domestic violence cases, 50% approximately cases get dropped.
Exactly right.
The alleged victim is safe. They come save their lives. They put them safe, and now they feel threatened if they prosecute.
Mm-hmm.
So I started a domestic violence court. And it wasn't easy. I had to get law enforcement on board, which was, they were very gracious. I said, look, if you would just file your report with the DA, you wouldn't have to come to court the first time. So I got law enforcement in there pretty soon. A shout out to Eloise Gaither as the clerk. That was the first one. She had to dedicate a clerk and a docket and prepare another docket for Thursdays. She was so dedicated, she came and sat as the clerk every time she was in office.
Wow.
That was unheard of for the circuit clerk to serve as a clerk in the court. Every Thursday she was there.
So how did Bill Weitzel take that?
Well, I tried to get it sooner. He said he didn't have the manpower, but finally I think the county commission found some money through some funds, and then Bill was very cooperative. And so once we got a prosecutor dedicated for that, we got a court dedicated, got a clerk, got law enforcement. So every Thursday we do that. Well, it did take about a month or two for me to figure out we still had the same old problem. A victim doesn't show up, or Judge, it's just a misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to do that. Officer made me do this. And another reason I did this, I want to say this in front of Rick. Law enforcement, you ask them what call they want to go on, least of any call going. The ones they hate the most are the domestic violence. They don't know what they're going to find. They save the victim, then the victim turns on them, and more officers or police are hurt on road officers on domestics, I think, than anything else, probably.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
And so when the victims would come and say they wanted to drop it, I'd say, Well, let's talk about this. Some police officer put their life on the line to come make sure you are safe. So the least you can do, and all I'm asking is you come to court and tell me the truth. If you do that, we'll be okay. Well, that wasn't enough. They didn't want to come. So I worked with Eloise Gaither for what's called a material witness bond. And law enforcement was all in on this too. The road officer would serve the victim with a subpoena to come to court. So at the time of the arrest that they had saved this victim, they were served with subpoena. They had a court date. They had to come. And the officer told them right then. And if they didn't come to court, do you know what we did?
Bench warrant.
That mean old Judge McFarland had the policeman go out and bring them back in. And I've got a lot of stories on that. Let me tell one of them. I was in court one day. Defendant comes. I'll try to make it quick. Defendant comes up. So, Judge, I told Mr. Jones, you're charged with this and this and this. Do you have a lawyer? No. I said, well, okay. And I looked at the name of the alleged victim. Called their name. Nobody answers. I said, well, Mr. Jones, here's what we do. I see they were served with a subpoena. They're supposed to be here. You were in court like you're supposed to. They're not. So I'm going to put this off 30 days, and then we're going to go out and have them arrested and brought to court, and then I'll see us again in 30 days. Immediately, a woman sitting front row center went, here I am, Judge. She sat front row center just to see what we were going to do.
Right.
And I've got a lot of stories like that, but I don't know how much time we got. But
I'm pretty confident you could write a book if you wanted.
I think we got a caller that's called in. Let's take a couple moments.
Let's roll the dice.
Who we got here? Yeah, you might have to put those on so you can hear them. There you go.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Caller, go ahead.
Good. I was just calling. I got to practice law with Judge McFarland for about 4 years, and then after that, I was on the bench a little bit, and then he came on the bench. But I'm not sure we've had a better general sessions judge in this county since I've lived here. He did the domestic violence court. He did the veterans court. It's not, for me, it's not the easiest. It's not the funnest court. I think it's the hardest working court because they see thousands of people. But Ben, I just wanted to call and tell you, I think you're missed up there. I know you did the right thing, but I think you're just an excellent, excellent judge, and I forgive you for all those times you beat me playing tennis. So,
well, I wish I could beat you a little more, Judge Ash, but there's never been a harder working circuit judge than Judge Ash. I'll tell you that.
Amen.
I'll take that compliment. Take it to heart. You're very kind, and you're talking about the number of cases, Judge Ash. From the time that I figured that I did the docket, we do 1,300 a year. For the years I did that, and the half I did with Judge Laurie, I figured I probably, for the domestic violence and the cases related to it, I probably heard over 15,000.
Wow.
During that period of time, and so you kind of get a feel for it.
Your Honor, we'd like. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to say, Wayne and Rick, I appreciate y'all's show. I listen to it a lot because I like y'all talking about Smyrna and the people down there, which are important to me, but having Judge McFarland today just made my day, so I want to call and tell you that I appreciate all three of y'all. So
you're too kind, Judge Ash.
We're hopeful to get you sometime in the near future, Your Honor.
Sure, holler at me. I'd love to. All right,
yes,
take
sir.
care, guys.
Judge Ash, have a great day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You. All right, we're going to take our second break here. We're getting close enough to it now, so we're going to take a break real quick, and then we'll be right back with you in just a second.
Chip Walters here with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. I was named a top 10 agent in the #1 Exit Realty office in America in 2021. The top question I get around town, how's the market? Good question. And the answer's changed a few times this year alone. I'd like to know what you've heard and share some solid data we have. Give me a call and let's have a cup of coffee and take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. All my contact info is right on my website, choosechip.net. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
Magnolia Medical Center in Murfreesboro. Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
In retirement, it's all about income. Your money, making money, and you're not spending down your principal. That's the way we do it at Retirement Income Solutions. So if you're spending down your principal or your money's not making money, keeping you ahead of inflation, check us out today at risolutions.net. risolutions.net. And make sure to join us Saturdays at noon and Sunday afternoons at 1 for Retirement Income Solutions Radio with Nathan Cox and Lindsay Cotter.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning again, and welcome to the third and final segment of the Tuesday edition of the WGNS Roundtable with your host, Rick Hall, and myself, Wayne Blair. And it's been our honor and pleasure to have His Honor, Ben Hall McFarland, retired General Session Judge this morning. And we're just honored by having His Honor, Judge Ash, give us a call. So this has been a red letter morning this morning, Your Honor.
Judge Ash, you've got somebody who you won't find anybody that's worked any harder in that position. He started all the recovery courts. He's the I don't want to make him too old. I'll say the grandfather. he
Certainly an innovator.
He was absolutely, which I guess leads me, before we do the next segment, we also got to start 7 years ago a Veterans Treatment Court, which in the recovery court, Vainer mentioned Judge Ash. This is another one of the subsets of recovery court. Got to start one veterans court about 7 years ago for our veterans who have served and made this country safe for us to do things like we're doing now and speak freely.
Yes, sir.
Some of them have served, especially Iraq, Afghanistan, or just service in general. They go through things. Some of them have had traumatic brain injuries, TBIs, post-traumatic stress. Some just away from home and a lot of stress serving in the military, so they have drug problems, they have alcohol problems, other problems, and so they get in trouble with the law. So instead, the short version is, instead of them sitting in jail just rotting away, we have a Veterans Treatment Court where we can accept them in. They have charges pending, significant charges. We take them in as what I would call a heavily supervised probation. Drug screens 2 or 3 times a week, counseling several times a week, and with that heavy supervision, we're not having to pay to keep them in jail. They have jobs, they're paying taxes, they're getting counseling,
yes,
they're on the road to recovery to being a good citizens again.
Yes,
and the veterans as a group, they help each other. It's your drug court, your DUI court, those people, they do good, but they don't have the camaraderie that the veterans do.
Exactly.
Yes,
and
and that regimen of repetitiveness that you learn in the military, doing things a certain way and having some guidance along the way, when that's just taken away, when you retire out, you lose that the people you're around every day, all of a sudden you're then by yourself. I think it's the same in when you retire from work, or if you're in police work and you get out, or but you get that routine back with those guys. And
you hit the nail on the head. They like the discipline in the regiment.
Yes.
And they get back in that and they accept it, and it helps them in their recovery.
Yep. See, that's like the unfortunate incident that happened yesterday. Wayne and I were talking on air or off air, waiting to come in today, and I said, we really need to come up with a program with these retired military and law enforcement and things like that, to where we're trying to fix the problem with paid officers, young officers that maybe not understand the way I feel in my 50s versus. So if we can get some retired guys in as not so much the tactical frontline guys, but in some of these schools to not only make a difference they're feeling in their own lives, but making a difference in these kids' lives as well.
Well, that's much needed. That's a great idea.
Yep.
Yep.
So.
Maybe just change directions a little bit. You're in possession of a historical, maybe artifact that
Say so, yeah.
Many of us know about. Maybe most people don't. But Rick mentioned he has the book. Is it The Private War of?
Well, the technical name.
Okay.
If I could interrupt.
Yes, sir.
I think
please.
that was going to be the question.
Yes, sir.
It's Jack Henson's, Hinson, apostrophe S, Jack Henson's One Man War.
Okay, thank you.
It's a book written by a retired Marine, Colonel Tom McKinney. He was at what's Land Between the Lakes, had one of those big metal historical markers. They told the story of Jack Henson. He decided he would run it down, found me and found the rifle, and then wrote a book about it. And the basic story is Jack Henson was in Dover, Tennessee, Stewart County now, well-to-do plantation owner, probably second most wealthy man in the county. Civil War came along. Things were good for him. He wanted to remain neutral. He just wanted to keep what he had, wanted to stay out of it. And he was doing that. He was kind of playing both sides against the middle. He would have even the Union officers, General Grant even came and visited in his house before the trouble broke out. He had several children. He had 2 sons out squirrel hunting one morning. The Union troops accused them of being bushwhackers. They didn't call them snipers then. Accused them of being bushwhackers out in the early morning, and they were just squirrel hunting. They killed him. The Union troops killed 2 of his sons, one 22, one 19. Drug the bodies around the square, cut their heads off, hung the boys' heads on the gatepost to Jack Henson's house. The cruelty was just amazing, but they were setting an example, and they had general orders that allowed them to do that. So Jack Henson somehow or another kept his cool and swore an oath anybody in a blue uniform he was going to try to kill, especially officers, because they're the ones that gave the orders to kill his sons. So he had a special rifle made, 50 caliber, 17 pounds, 7 ounces, long barrel. And then he just turned into what we call a sniper now. He did a lot of his shooting on at gunboats on the Tennessee River up a bluff that was about 550 yards down. They had a little island in the middle of the Tennessee where the current one way was like a log ride used to ride at Opryland, but the other way the engines could barely make progress. So when they were going the slow way, he would sit up there and pepper the boat, picking people off. And there was a steep bluff, they couldn't get up to him. They just had to take it. So this rifle, every time he was sure that he killed a Yankee, we'll say,
yes, sir,
troop.
That's the affectionate term we've used for.
I've heard worse. So he would notch the barrel. He had a circular punch, and it's not in the wood, it's in the metal of the barrel, and he'd hit that real hard, a little 1/8 inch, and it's got 36 notches on the barrel.
Wow.
And it took Colonel McKinney probably 10 years to write the book and get it published, but it came out about 2008. I know it's been reprinted at least 6 times. Pelican put it out. And it's usually these history books, they come out, it's a little story like this, and then they kind of pass on in time. But this book, for some reason, keeps selling, and the story keeps being told. And we still have interest, people come and want to see the rifle, and I've had to basically stop people coming from the house. We just had to stop that.
Sure.
So we try to have events like the Historical Society we did a couple of Mondays ago, where people got to come see it. There was about 140 people came from 4 different states. So they put the word out. We've had people come from England, New Zealand, Australia, Ireland. Last summer somebody came from Ireland I said, how in the world did you find out? How did somebody from Ireland find out about this? He said, well, I was over, I think he was in London at the time, in a used bookstore and saw this book. And they own a place in Florida, and they were traveling around the U.S. in a travel van. And in part of their travels, they made a point to come by and see this rifle.
Wow.
It's just a compelling story.
So how many hits did he? I think you said there was 36. Was that just for officers, or there?
Well, that's the interesting part of the story. Nobody really knows exactly. Colonel McKinney thinks that 36 was for that. He did more. All his killing wasn't just on the bluff. When he had opportunity, other times he would do it. He would take opportunities as they arose. Colonel McKinney thinks that's the ones he actually could put his foot on the ground, and he thinks there's a lot more. Nobody knows for sure, but the Union troops never caught him. They put rewards out. They even tried gunboats to try to trap him. They put rewards out for him, and they never got him. So at the end of the war, he was subject to military tribunal. I think he was actually the Union was looking at doing that. And so he obviously was smart enough not to keep the rifle. That's plain as prosecutor's exhibit number 1. So he did some scouting for Nathan Bedford Forrest. If you're familiar with the Johnsonville raid, that was a supply depot in Johnsonville, 3rd or 4th largest in the South. It supplied Sherman. And since Henson was having to go by back roads and stay hidden, he took Forrest into a bluff above Johnsonville that wiped out that whole depot.
Wow.
And Henson's given credit for that. So he knew of Nathan Bedford Forrest. At the end of the war, Henson gave the rifle to Forrest, and that was unusual. People were giving Nathan Bedford Forrest all kinds of things because of his celebrity. And then he gave it to my great-great uncle, Charles Anderson. And that's how it got into my family. We're no relation to the Hensons, but Charles Anderson was an adjutant for an aide for Nathan Bedford Forrest. And speaking of Smyrna, he's from Florence.
Wow.
He had a place there in Florence. And so it passed down from my family by Major Anderson. So there are just all kinds of stories with Jack Henson.
Yeah, it kind of goes along as far as the brutality of the another here in Rutherford County, the story of DeWitt Job and DeWitt Smith. I think they called them the cousins from Mechanicsville, which I think is the Rocky Fork area.
Okay.
And of course, DeWitt Job is buried up on a hill up from Rocky Fork, and he was brutally murdered by Union troops from a Ohio regiment, and of course the story of the havoc that his cousin wreaked in revenge is pretty interesting too.
Well, that's a book that Colonel McKinney's working on now, Atrocities from the Civil War, both sides, North and South.
Yes, sir.
And he's working on that, and we hope he gets to complete it.
That would be interesting. I've read the book, but I don't have the book. But now that Rick tells me he's had the book, and I've got my brother Dennis has the book, so I'm compelled to get the book and hope, Your Honor, you'll sign it and autograph it for me.
Yeah, I think
my pleasure.
It was at Christmas time, Barnes and Noble, right there on their avenue. There's a little section that says Rutherford County. It's near the checkout, and it was sitting up on top. There's several of them right there. So
okay,
I bought a couple more. John Lodell has been my neighbor for years. I've since moved, but he's the county archives, the head of archives. So there's a few that he's, had a part of writing and contributing to. So I've got couple of those as well. I'm gonna have him sign those as well. So I'd rather to catch back up with you, long. Like I said, my father-in-law's got it right now, and he's enjoying reading it. So it shouldn't take that long. It's not that long. Yep.
You've got to just be filled with maybe some satisfaction, gratification, the years of service of you personally, but your dad, who I knew pretty well, and of course your son, who's now serving as well. Just got to give you just a warm glow, I would hope.
I just feel blessed to be able to have had the opportunity to do what I've tried to do. I just feel blessed. It does feel good.
Yeah, there's just we've been blessed here in Rutherford County to have so many long-serving public servants, and we're certainly pleased to have had you all the years, and hopefully your retirement years are what you had hoped for.
It's been an easier transition than I thought it was going to be. I enjoyed doing what I was doing so much that I was a little concerned, but I knew it was time, and it was time. And I've been very blessed in my retirement as well. More time with the grandkids.
Yeah, I think Rick, with having the law enforcement in his blood, I think he struggled a little bit more than you have maybe in his retirement.
Oh yeah, no, I told you that earlier. I miss police work every day, but I miss I think the guys and the job we did and the satisfaction we got from that. I sure don't miss the circus that our world has created us today. It's changed from. I started in 1992, so
my goodness,
things are a lot different.
Changed. Yeah, it
big
has.
time from what it was, and I didn't feel like we were winning anymore. And obviously, 7 years now being out, it's obvious that we're not winning, and somewhere things are going to have to change to get us back.
When you
more grounded.
When you have the tremendous growth that we've struggled with here in Rutherford County, and limited resources to. Well, I'm sure people would argue with me as far as limited resources. It's just that, with the growth comes so many issues as far as education and law enforcement and judicial, and just all the things that the property tax attempts to pay for, and it's just the pie is so big, and the filling is so small.
I remember when they were talking about building a new judicial center. They were building at least one new school a year, and somebody came to us, I think Judge Laura and me and some of the other judges, and said, "Look, this next year is the year we're not building another school. If you're going to ask for a judicial center, you better be doing it." When you build a new school at least per year, in that kind of run, that's crazy.
And they really hadn't kept up with the pace, because
they still got portables all over the place.
150 trailer classrooms out there, and it may be more today.
150.
I continue to be astounded that we have that many students in trailers, and but. It's just it's a problem that our present commissioners and mayor and school board members, they just have to continue to work the process and hope to solve it, or at least make a dent in it.
Got to do the best they can. I guess we need to keep them in our prayers too, if they do a good job.
No doubt.
Because like I said, that and county commissioners, those are the most unappreciated, the hardest jobs in the county.
Exactly. I'm just curious, though, your time on the bench, what's your most memorable moment?
I'd say the vet court graduations. I had a mother once come from Birmingham. Our graduations are kind of an ordeal, a celebration, and a woman came up. I never met her. And we give her a chance. "Mom, you want to come say anything?" She came up and said her son was addicted to drugs, but we got in our program. He was working at Nissan, working hard, and she said, "You don't know what it's like to have your son have a problem, and you know it's so serious that you're already planning his funeral." Mm-hmm. And I want to thank this treatment team for giving me back my son, because I was already planning his funeral. And now you've given me back my son. I mean, that's
a lot
just
of
there
satisfaction right there.
Want to
That's what it's all
dry
about.
in the place. She was just
What a great story.
Yeah.
yeah. And this particular veteran, when they would sit in their in their circle and they'd be talking, and he had a little stuffed animal that he'd sit and talk to and kind of play around with. And he came back to working full-time Nissan, and what a
wow.
story.
Holy cow. I got out when I think the mental health court really started catching on a little bit, and I don't know where it's at today, but I knew when I was leaving in 2016 and 17, it was really becoming an issue, and I don't know where it's at right now in our court system. But
Yeah, Judge Tidwell presides over mental health court. It's a great court. He does a great job.
Yeah, that really become an issue with daily having to deal with people daily, and there wasn't, because you really can't charge them because they really don't. You know, do they understand that portion of it to get a conviction of it? But sometimes I know one story. It's top of my head. I had somebody wanting to was putting death threats against me and my family, and on social media, and a lot of stuff going on, and we ended up having to arrest him. And they were going to, first thing through General Sessions, his attorney comes in, so we need to drop this. He's obviously he's not going to be up to it. And I said, well, we can't drop this one. We're going to have to push all the way through. We're going to have to get a conviction, because he can go out and buy a gun tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if we don't get a felony on him, he's going to be able to get a gun. And if he ever wanted to act this out, he could.
Absolutely.
And I think that through mental health court, we were able to get a resolution on that. But those programs are exactly what we need more of today.
Well, and kudos, our county commission is extremely supportive of the recovery courts.
Mm-hmm,
and so I need to send a shout out to them. And several of the commissioners come to our vet court. I still come to the vet court graduations. My son presides over vet court now.
Oh, yeah.
He knew how it was important to me and knew how I ran it. And so he's taken over. So my son's now presiding judge for the Veterans Treatment Court.
Great.
And we have several commissioners come every single time.
Good.
And one lady up there was one of the two graduations ago. A mother came up and said, "Thank you, and I got my son's doing good, and we thank you for what he did." And she said, "And by the way, this is the best use we can think of for our taxpayers' money." And I was looking over the commissioners, and they were nodding their heads. Yeah, y'all need to make sure our taxpayers' money goes for stuff like this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Your Honor, we've been thrilled to have you this morning, and thank you for sharing, some information that I didn't know about you and your family, and we're certainly grateful for your service, and God bless you and your sweet family.
Well, thank you for what service y'all provide with this program. It is marvelous.
Well, thank you, sir. We thoroughly enjoy it, and it's only possible because of having people like yourself that come on and share your stories and your memories, and I appreciate it a lot, and all your years of service on the bench.
It's been a real treat. Thank you.
We'll have to give Judge Ash a call and see if we can't get him to be with us.
Oh, I know he'd be here in a heartbeat. He's a servant.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, you've been listening to retired Judge Ben Hall McFarland this morning on the Tuesday morning roundtable with Brick and Wayne. We're going to hope everybody has a great day out there, and please pray for those families in Nashville and everybody involved in it. And we'll see you again next week. Have a great day. Bye.